Hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome to the channel. This is a 2011 Mercedes E550 with airmatic suspension. You may recognize it from some videos I've done on the channel already because I've done a radio upgrade, front suspension service, and starter replacement. But today we're working on the rear axle because when it's parked it just leaks down, and it's been doing it more and more, ending up really low, and it's not great. So in this video we're going to replace the air springs and the shocks. Now to show you the issue, let's take a look at the rear wheel. This has only been parked for a couple of days and it's already pretty low here. And if you let it sit longer, it actually tucks down even further and the wheel starts to tilt in with the suspension travel. When we're done, it'll hold its ride height when it's off, and it might actually ride better too, because if the fronts were any indication, the shocks may be worn out as well. Now the first step to replace those is to remove some panels in the trunk to get access to the upper shock mounts. So let's get in the trunk and get this job started. The first thing we want to do to get to the suspension is to prepare the trunk, because the top mounts of the struts are behind those panels. So this one on the left and this one on the right. And I want to do this now because later when the car's in the air, it'll be harder to work on this. So we're going to get started. Now there are a couple different versions of this car. Some of them have the folding seats like this and others don't. So it'll vary a little bit depending on the car you have. But the first thing we're going to do is remove this panel. Some of the tools we're going to use are a 10mm socket, some trim tools, and a T40 Torx bit. Now to get started, there are two clips, one here and one here, that we want to remove so we can get this panel off. It's just a little clip that you can remove with the trim tool. Now with those clips out, we can pull this out of the car. Just slide out. And now we can keep going. So depending on the car you have, there may just be a panel here. You'll need to remove it. In my case, I have the spare wheel, so nothing to remove. But since we have to get these panels off, this panel here has to come out too. And that is held on here and here with 10mm plastic nuts that we just need to loosen to pull this up. Now this panel's clipped in, so it's gonna have to come straight up. Let me get some trim tools and see if I can use that to help. You got a clip here, 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 and here. There we go. So using a wedge trim tool, pry those up. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then little guides right here on either end. And that means that the edge of these side panels can now be removed. Next, we need to remove this panel because the side panels are tucked underneath, and that means removing these rings. So there's a little plastic cover here, and it just kind of clips on around the mounting point. So we're going to pry this off. I'm going to use a trim tool here. It clips in on either side, and there's a little guide in the front. And here we have a T40 Torx bolt. There we go. So it's got guide points to align it properly. And we'll just move that out of the way. And we can do the same thing on this side. Once you get one side off, you kind of push it over. And you don't have to remove the bolt all the way out of the D-ring. So just keep it like this and put it aside. And with those removed, just lift this out of place. I think it's clipped over here. Yeah, there's a little hook here. So you gotta pull this back. There we go. Next, let's remove the left panel. Got one clip right here. One back there, 2 anchors here, and back behind the hinge, there's a nut that we can undo as well. I think on some other trims, there might be another clip further up, so just keep an eye out. And on the right side, it'll be the same thing. Clip, clip, D-ring nut. Don't lose your clips. Oh, and there's another one up here. I didn't see it. So right here at the top, same thing. We'll get that one out too. There we go. Just brace the back of the clip with your finger while you pull down. Now remove this cover here. Same over here. And with that, we should be able to remove this panel. Yep, this way. Get it out of the seals in here. And just make sure I'm not missing anything. There's a clip up here. Not really a clip, but rather a panel holder right here that grabs the carpet. Maybe if we reach in here, pull it forward. Oh, here. Okay, there we go. Whoop. And with that panel removed, we have access to a bunch of things, but most importantly, the two nuts right here that hold the top of the strut. And then there's also the amp and the air tank. We'll follow the same procedure on this side. Nope, this one is not grabbing the carpet. Interesting. Now don't yank it all the way out, because in both of these panels there are lights and connectors, but there's a fair amount of length, so you can leave them in the trunk. There's a split around the spring area, and that seems to be catching right now. There we go. Back here there's a fuse panel, which you can access behind this panel. And over here are two nuts for the strut mount. Let me try to arrange this a little better. There we go. Two strut mounts accessible. Nice. Now that the trunk panels are off, one thing I also want to do before getting the car in the air is break these nuts free, because it's going to be harder to reach with them being higher off the ground, and I don't want to lean on the car on the lift. So let's get this on here. They're not super tight. And same thing on the other side. And with that done, when the car's in the air, it'll be easier to just reach in, zip them out, without having to worry about unbalancing the car. Now it's time to get the car in the air. Let's actually caught the rear first, because the rear is sagged down. With the car in the air, let's deflate the air suspension in the rear. Diagnosis, control unit, chassis, suspension, tests, release pressure and suspension struts, left rear, pressure and strut 51, F1 release pressure. And that's probably as low as it'll go. I'll do right rear. Get the microphone over here. It actually vents under the bumper. The control valve is back there. There we go. Next we get the wheels off. I like to use pilot pins so the wheel doesn't fall off when I take the lug bolts out. Like that. Now that we have the wheel off, let's take a look at what we're working with. So we got shock and airbag. Now the shock has the active damping valve right here, and that is specific to the AIRMATIC setup. And as far as I know, based on my research, the only way to retain the function of this is to get a Mercedes part for the shock. Then we have our air line for the airbag up here, and the fitting right there. We also have the brake lines, we have the connector for the active damping, which mounts in here, a plastic cover under the suspension arm, which also covers the bolt that holds the bottom of the shock in place. And then another component of the air suspension system is back here. a height sensor. So that is mounted over there. It's got an arm that connects to this arm here, right there. But we're not messing with that today. Now to get more clearance to remove the shock absorber, we are going to remove the fender liner. And that will allow us to maneuver it out once it's unbolted and everything like that. And on the other side, it's the same thing. Our shock, our air line, our active damping connection. The same thing, a cover over here that we'll remove, and we'll see more as we make progress. All right, now let's get the wheel liner off first. If you're only replacing the air spring, you don't need to do this, but since we're doing both the shock and the spring, we do have to take this off. It's held in with some clips here and here, and actually down here too. Then some nuts, 10 millimeter here, 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 and here. And also a bolt right here. And down here we have a torque screw as well. So here you want to pull out the center part of the pin. There we go. And then we can pull the rest of the pin out. There we go. So the center pin actually locks the teeth in when it's pushed in. So pull it out and it'll come out more easily. Same thing here. Oop, you can pull it out all the way too. Do the same for these two. There's a bolt here. And the nuts up here. But before I do those, I want to get this Torx bit right here, because I don't want it to like tear over here. This is T20. Let's work on getting this out. So each of the nuts leaves behind a stud. So we're just going to pull it off of those. You also want to get it out of the fender. Ugh, it's dusty. Luxury cars like these, they use carpeted stuff to make it quieter, which makes it a little dustier. Ugh, boy. Yeah, it's jammed inside the fender. Really, this stud here was holding the whole thing in place, so something to keep in mind. Now we have nice access to the whole height of the shock, which will make it easier to remove when we get to that. For the left wheel liner, it's the same thing. We have a bolt, two clips, a nut, another nut, and then there as well. So 5 nuts, a T20 screw here, and 2 more clips here. All right, now let's get the liner out. Now that we have the liner out of the way, we want to remove this cover from the control arm. And to do that, we have to release these clips. So one here, one here, one here, and one back there, right there. Now to do this, I'm going to use an 11mm wrench. Just pop that over it, and you can kind of see there's like little slots there. We want to compress that so it can come out. There we go. And on this one, same thing. Kind of put it on. And in this one, the far side, this side's coming out, but the inner part is actually kind of getting stuck. I see my issue is that it's stuck back there. There we go. It's a little harder to see on this side, but we're going to repeat the process. Well, that was kind of a pain. Do the same thing on this side. Boop. The difficulty is really pushing it in the right position to get it to release. Next, we're going to remove the shock absorber. And to do that, we have to disconnect the plug here. There's a little catch right here. And it just pulls out, up and out. And to make a little bit more room, we're going to remove this bracket right here, which has an E10 bolt holding it in. So E10 is this type of socket. Now this bracket is for both the shock absorber harness and the brake wear sensor. We just want to be able to have it out of the way. So I removed it. Now we can turn our attention to the nut here and the E-torque bolt on the other side that hold the shock in. So this side right here is 16 millimeter, and the other side here is an E14. Now, this shouldn't be crazy tight, but we'll see what we need to do. Okay, it's tighter than I thought. There we go. There we go. Now we just need to get the upper nuts out. Those are 13s. So I'm going to go in through the door, the rear door. Take them off by hand so they don't fall in. Now I have to compress it and slide it out. Now if you're planning on reusing your shock, don't grab it by the plastic cover. Just something to keep in mind. Now, compress it. Maybe compress it some more. Lift it out. And it's out. Nice. Now you could put the new shock in now, but since removing the bag requires having the lower bolt for the shock out of the way, might as well replace it now. And we're doing both, so that's what we're gonna do. Now we need to get this released from the air spring to relieve the air pressure and get it out. So that is a 10 millimeter fitting, but we gotta see how we can get it loose without damaging the airline. There we go. I was able to pull the cover down a bit. If you're reusing your air spring, be careful. You don't want this to rub on the spring inside. So just something to keep in mind, but it might give us a little bit better access. Not a lot of room in there. Now this isn't supposed to be very tight. In fact, the torque spec, if you're threading this back into the original air spring, is 2 Newton meters. And if you're thinking about how we're going to reinstall this, don't worry, we're actually replacing the fitting. The new air spring comes with its own fitting, and you just press the line in and it'll seat. Put that on right here. Yep. So the way I got it free is I put my 10 millimeter wrench on it, put the screwdriver through it, and then just twist it. Now I just have to work it out. There's still a little bit of air that hasn't come out, so it's gonna hiss when we get this loose enough. If you have a better way to release this, let me know down in the comments. Now, if you're unscrewing this and planning on reusing your airbag, be really careful because it is plastic threads. If you break it, your bag's done. Now I should be able to get it out. And if we look down here, it sits in the control arm right there. All right, let's see, can I push this up or down? Okay, here we go. Okay, that's the top released. Absolutely want this to be out of the way. I gotta release it from the bottom. Let me see if I can just bop it out. part's tough because the bottom of the air spring seems to be seized in the control arm, and we have to release it. Maybe we can spray some PB Blaster. I think what may be happening is over time there's a little bit of rust that built up, and that's grabbing the plastic base, so it's not going anywhere. All right, we'll let that sit for a bit and we'll try again later. All right, so the bottom of the air spring was stuck in, but it turns out hitting it with a hammer got it free. Still gotta do a bit more, but it is working. Still stuck in the bottom. Damn. Oh, you can actually push the arm down a bit more. Okay, there we go. A little crunchy in there. Just a tiny bit of rust, so I'll brush that up and treat it. We'll be good to go. If we look up here, you can actually see the centering pin. And I'm not sure what this is called. Kind of like a springy thing. That's good. It's really good that this is here. Now for our airline, we have to get this little piece off. There's actually a split in it on the other side, right there. So we have to pry that apart so this comes off, and then we can slide the rest of it off. So we'll do that. There we go. On the left side is the same thing, but we don't have to take this off. Work around it, there's enough room. So we'll start by disconnecting the plug here. Straight up. Push this up a bit. Nah, we'll do that once we've removed the nuts at the top. Push this up. Careful with the brake line. And bring it down. So we can release this the same way. One thing you can do also is, once you've loosened it enough that the air can come out, you can compress the spring and then get in there a lot more easily with the wrench. Try to get the boot down like last time. There we go. If these aren't too big, they may work. Nope, just kidding. These are Knipex Cobras, pliers wrenches, so they move parallel, make it nice and easy to grip stuff. So it's hissing. Now if we wait a while, maybe we'll be able to lower this, unscrew it the rest of the way. There we go. There we go. And this one's also stuck, so I'm gonna hit the bottom of the airbag with the hammer. What we need to do is push on the axle. We gotta push this down a bit. Come on. Ow. Come on. Now we take our screwdriver, this off here. There we go. The side's also a little crusty. Not too bad, but we definitely need to clean it up. All right, let's get this cleaned up. I've been brushing it a bit with the press brush. Get the dust out of here. I'm gonna try to hit this area, especially this, with a wire brush on a drill. Kind of clean that up. And we'll treat it a bit. That's kicking up a lot of dust. Do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll come and put in some rust treatment on here. Now what I'm going to do is use my preferred rust treatment. So I'm going to go over this. I want to say that if I ever have to get back in here to replace the airbag again in the future, I probably can look at the condition. There's some pitting in here, so I'd probably see about replacing the lower control arm if that day comes. But until then, I'm going to treat the rust so it doesn't get worse. Get a mirror. I did not get that all the way yet. Good. I'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, it's a brand new day. Rust treatment has dried. It looks good. So I think we're good to keep going. Now it's time to put the new airbag in. Now this is the original one. You can see it's got a specific shape on the bottom, and the opening for the airline is towards the rear. There's also an arrow right here. So you can use those things to figure out which of our two airbags is the right one. Let's see right here. I'm using a Cortico part because it's supposed to be the OEM manufacturer. Get the same shape here, the arrow, and the airline fitting. Now one thing we can do is if you make sure the hole in the retainer is plugged, we can actually, we're supposed to be able to compress this, plug it, and then it'll be easier to maneuver into place. And you don't want to damage the bellows, so just keep that in mind too. Okay. We want to make sure our if there is like a plastic retainer in here. If it's missing, you want to make sure you have it. That will guide the top part of the airbag into place. So let's try to get this in. So I think I'm going to start with the bottom. Kind of a line, but not really at the top. There we go. My big problem is the lower part is not dropping far. The top part seems pretty aligned. Now we need to worry about the bottom. This part here needs to go seat in the right place. Now to try to seat the bottom of the bag, I'm going to use my air compressor. Open that up. Just blow a bit of air into the fitting. There we go. Awesome. That is seated. And the issue I was having is that the bottom section had gone in at an angle, so it was wedging itself in the perch. So I ended up pushing up on the bottom of the airbag, just lifting it up, resealing it with the air out of it so I could lift it and reposition it, re-angle it. And when that was done, I opened it up, blew air in it, and it seated, which is great. Now that that's done, we can remove the plug one last time. Run this line back where it needs to go. Make sure this is clean. So once you line it up, just push it in. It's going to stop right around the color mark, like the paint mark. There we go. When you pull back, you'll feel it doesn't come back out. So that's when you know you're good. All right, and that is our airbag replaced. I feel around it. Yep, none of the bellows are collapsed. We're good. Now for the airbag on the left side, it's the same thing. Just want to make sure our centering pin is in place. Some people like to mount that in the air spring first. I'm just gonna leave it in place there. Same as on the other side, we have the arrow that goes on the outside. The fitting goes towards the rear in this one. And here's the part number. Again, I've pushed the air out with the sealed plug. It doesn't necessarily come with the sealed one, but if you put like some putty or something in there, it'll work. Thanks to Mercedes Source for the tip. And we're gonna align this, so bring this forward. Careful with the airline. We don't want it to get damaged. Just try to take it out of the way a bit. There we go. Okay. Okay. Now the challenge we had with the other one was getting this in the right orientation. Rotate, rotate, rotate. There we go. Oops, see this here? We want to avoid that. There we go, squeeze further out, pop it back in. That looks centered. Down here, looks good, it's not all the way down. So let's do what we did on the other side. Get our airline and just blow a bit of air, and I should seat it. Looks good down here, probably could seat a tiny bit more. Let's keep an eye on it. There we go, that's good. And same thing on this side. There we go. Feels good. Feels snug, perfect. Awesome. So here's our original shock absorber. Part is 630 or 400. And again, this is left and right specific. You can see here, this is angled towards the left or towards the rear. So here's our Mercedes part, same thing, 630 400. Looks nice and clean. Interestingly, the boot is not all the way up. I don't think that's a problem. So let's get it in here. We're gonna bring it up from the side, put it in there, and then we'll line it up here, put the bolt in. Yeah, the boot can be slid up at the top. It's the same way, same thing either way, but at the bottom we have to make sure we're oriented properly, and we want this to go towards the rear. Let's see, can I get it in? I need to compress this quite a bit more. As soon as you release it, it's gonna wanna spread out again. Nope. 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 Okay, how am I gonna do this? It's a lot harder to compress than the previous shocks. Oh, jeez. Another challenge, huh? Wait. Me. Okay. Got it. Okay, now the challenge is going to be to fit the bolt through here. Conceivably push up from the bottom here. There's a little opening. Yes, great success. I'm going to tighten this up. We'll torque it to spec in a little bit. Get the nuts started. I'll tighten them up to spec a little later. Now we can actually plug this back in. And we're going to put this back in as well. All the suspension components back into place. Now let's do the other side. Our rear left side is 530300. Basically the same thing, just this is a little different because it faces this way. Now we're going to put the bolt back in. Now we can put the nuts in up at the top. And now we're going to torque the upper nuts. It's first 15 Newton meters and then 35 Newton meters. So we'll do one torque and then turn up the torque wrench and do the other. Now 35. There we go. Same thing on the other side. There we go. That's the upper nuts done. All right, so our bolt here is 60 Newton meters followed by 60 degrees. So we're going to do that. Got my torque wrench set to 60 Newton meters. I'm going to use a breaker bar here to hold this in place. And we're going to tighten from here. I'm going to change it to 60 degrees. That is our shock bolted in here. Let's do it on the other side as well. The same thing on this side, 60 Newton meters and 60 degrees. Both sides ended up in the 80 to 90 Newton meters range after the angle tightening, but you should definitely go by the angle, not by a second torque. I'm gonna get the cover back on here. Just line up the pins and snap them in. Yeah, if any of them are loose, you can make sure you push it through and then pull the ears outwards so it locks nicely and doesn't vibrate. All right, do the same thing on the other side. And those the covers on. All right, let's get this fender liner back in. One thing I want to point out is that if you rub the fender liner up and down on these threads, it will cut away at it. So you do want to be careful when you're maneuvering this so you don't damage it. Everything's in, but why is this one not? Why is that one not cooperating? Everything else is lined up. There we go. Gotta say it's easier to put in than to remove, huh? On this side we have two of our push pins. I can get them lined up. There we go. And then push the center part down. That locks it in. Same thing right here. There we go. Our bolt goes here. And right here we have our T20 screw. And two more push pins right here. That's our fender liner in on this side. Let me guess, it's the top one bothering us again. Has both of the liners in. And we're done under the car. All we have to do is put the wheels back on. With everything in, let's do active test and inflate the rear suspension. Fill suspension struts, left rear. When we removed them, we got them down, they were about at 50, 55. Let's try to go to 65, 70. One fill. Let's go. You can hear the compressor running. That's where we were when we took it off, or deflated it. Right rear, same thing. Now we can put the car on the ground. Make sure it's clear underneath. Okay, raise this up. It's like the front dropped because it tried to compensate for the full extension of the struts when I opened the doors and closed the doors. You know what, before we do anything, I'm probably gonna start the car. That way we can let the air suspension even itself out so it doesn't get mad, because it's gonna get upset with suspension too low down there. Let's see. I should have put it on a tender. I think leaving the diagnostic dongle plugged in drained the battery. You hear the compressor running. I think the front's coming up. That seems good. Let's put it in high mode. Let it back down. So far it looks good. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna get this on the battery charger and put the trunk back together. And before I forget, I'm gonna torque the wheel lugs. So that's 130 Newton meters. And I like to put a wheel chock on the side to prevent the wheel from rolling when I tighten. And same thing on the other side. All right, now it's time to put the trunk back together. So I'm gonna put the panels back in and tighten everything up. So this goes behind the spring. Put that under here. All right. Now we're gonna put the two nuts that are here and here. Back here, we're gonna put all our pins back in. Here, here. And our anchor points. All the anchor points go to 24 Newton meters. Then we snap these back on. Put the forward panel in. Oops. That's good. And we got the two anchors at the back there. And put this in, slots in around those 10mm bolts. And put the last two clips back in. Ta-da! Nice. And with everything back together, that's the rear suspension done. The last thing I need to do is finish charging up the battery, because that drained with the wireless OBD2 adapter I have plugged in and opening and closing the doors. So maybe to avoid that, I could have unplugged the battery, but that's just something to keep in mind when you do the job. Now, if you remember the front suspension video, that turned out to be really expensive because I was getting parts from Mercedes and the 4MATIC AIRMATIC struts were really hard to get. But it turns out the rear axle is also quite expensive if you want the OE style ride. The airbags were about $1,300 and they're from Cortico, who are the manufacturer for the Mercedes part. And the shocks you have to get from Mercedes if you want to keep ADS. And those were about $1,000. So all told, about $2,500 for the rear suspension. Now you can do this cheaper with different brands, but as far as I can tell from my research, the only way to keep ADS, which is the adaptive damping, is with Mercedes parts, or possibly refurbished if you can find that. Everything else is just dummy plugs, and when you hit the sport suspension button, it won't actually change anything anymore. So that's just something to keep in mind. The goal here was to keep the OEM ride quality, and that's why we went with these parts. If this video helped you out, don't forget to leave a like and to hype the video, because that really helps me out. And if you have any questions about the job, let me know down in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.